Man, doesn't it suck when you buy something that's so cool and you get it and you unwrap the box and you find out that you just can't use it. Now, I can relate to that, and I'm going to help you today and how to solve the problem in case you, like me, and purchased a wonderful, cool, antique backpacking stove, and you take it out and you light it up, and it's just not going the way you want it. You know, it's a frustrating feeling. It really is. But there's some good news. There's some good news because you can diagnose it, and they're not too complicated to fix. So you can get that 100-plus-year-old camping stove back on the trail, making yourself a cup of coffee, tea, hot cocoa, soup, whatever you do, and get to enjoy all the coolness of this neat little artifact that you purchased. So what I have today is a Primus 1924 backpacking stove. This is the 100 model, so it is fairly large. And today I'm just going to talk to you about how to diagnose and fix the issues. Make another video and show you how to light it, and we'll get there. But when you open it up, you're going to probably come up with these various different pieces. It might come with a little bottle. That's what you use for your alcohol. And we'll come back to that again in a different video. And then you got your tank. Now, the nice thing about these large sizes is you can put a lot of fuel in this. So for a weekend excursion, this will last you pretty well. You don't have to carry an extra bottle for it. It's all self-enclosed. That's pretty nice. The next thing is your little burner. Now, your burner might come into 3 different parts. This one is seized shut. So after I'm done making this video, I'm actually going to dunk this thing in a mixture I'll explain later, and try to get that apart, because it packs away a lot easier when they're all in different pieces. Now, I purchased the little burner. The burner plate is not necessary. Sure does make life a little bit easier, and it's not that heavy. It doesn't add a tremendous amount of weight. And I'm not an ultralight backpacker anyways. You also have your little burner plate, or you might have like a little brass cup. Now, there's a loud burner, and that's the burner plate, or you can use the little cup instead, and it makes it a little bit quieter. Then you have your pot stand stakes or legs, like that. So you got 3 of them. Now, mine came with a little pricker, but the pricker's gone. It's broken off. So I had to order a couple extra prickers. So if you don't have a pricker, you need to get yourself one for lots of reasons. And I'll explain why. And you have a couple, at least mine, came with a couple extra washers. And that's really important, especially as we go through and we diagnose this. So when you get your tank and you fill it up with fuel for the first time, go ahead and leave the top cap on, because we're going to see if there are any leaks. And what you're looking for are bubbles. Now, some people use water. I don't like using water because getting that dried out thoroughly can be a pain in the butt. So I just use a little bit of fuel, and I don't pump it super hard, and I take one step at a time. There are 3 rules that I generally live by, and the first one is don't make a problem bigger than what it already is. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, if it isn't broke, then don't fix it. Rule number 3 is always replace the parts that are integral to the safety of you or whatever you're doing. Again, replace the parts that are integral to the safety of whatever you're using it for or whatever you're doing. Because you don't want to be stuck out in the middle of the woods and or on a mountaintop or wherever you are and need it and not be able to rely on it. Now, this is a 100-year-old stove. Now, you can find out what year yours is, at least by most cases for these Primuses, is there's a little stamp on the bottom of it. So there's a stamp code, and there's lots of sources online that you can look up what the code is to identify what year yours is made. Mine is 1924. These are the gaskets that came with my stove. They're black. They seem to be rubber, very, very hard rubber, which means they're probably pretty brittle. They don't bend under pressure. So these could possibly still be used, but when in doubt, always replace it. I would strongly suggest that you always replace the gaskets. Now, how I identified whether my gasket was functional or not, I took out this part here. There's a leather cup. Now, some people just put oil on it. What I like to do is put a little bit of leather dressing on the leather itself and take it from there. You want to flare it out, make sure it's nice and supple. If it's not supple, just let it soak in the oil for a little bit. It doesn't take very long. And you put it back in. So if your pump is not pumping, diagnose that first, because that is going to be what drives the pressure into the stove. This part of the stove here, this is what releases pressure from the tank. So you want to tighten this down, you want to close that up, and we're going to see if there's any bubbles. We're just going to give it a couple pumps and observe. Now after this many pumps, it really should be pressurized, but I'm easily pumping more into it. So that means there's a leak somewhere. Chances are it's right here because I see a little bit of fluid. Have a rag nearby. Go ahead and wipe that down. Release the pressure. So it is keeping some, but it's got a slow leak somewhere. So if you take your little burner plate here, at least this is what I use it for. I'd say my suspicions are correct. I only have one gasket in here, but I found that using 2 or 3 actually works a lot better. So we're going to tighten that back up. Really good. Wipe it down. Let's try it again. Oh. I'm not noticing any fuel coming out here. I'm going to go ahead and release. Very good. The next area that you want to diagnose is the fill cap itself. Chances are that if this wasn't leaking, you'd probably notice bubbles or fluid coming right from here from the fill cap. Now my original fill cap had a very, very broken and cracked hard rubber seal. So I bought a new one and I had to trim off just a little bit of the fiber seal, the fiber washer, like so, the fiber gasket, whatever you want to call it, and I pushed it down in there. To get it seated, I actually just ended up screwing it down really good. That seated the gasket inside the cap here. So now that's good to go. So if you've got this one all ready to go and it's pumping and it's getting pressure, you're not seeing any bubbles from this point, or this point, or down here, then your stove is ready to go. It's not that hard, it's not that difficult. Now to assemble your stove, you're going to take that off, put it to the side, and notice that it has a hexagonal nut to it. My stove didn't come with a wrench, so I ended up using just a crescent wrench, and I carry that inside the stove box. And you want to tighten this down really good. Okay, now once you have that done, you got it seated down really good. These type of stoves you have to pre-light, and you're heating up this little, what they call a chapstick tube, and with a little bit of alcohol. You can use kerosene, but kerosene is a little bit difficult to light until it vaporizes. So alcohol is what you should be using, hence why they used to come with these little brass bottles. And you couldn't order this. This is a reproduction. But you fill this up with the alcohol. You go ahead and light it. It's going to heat up this reservoir, which is going to vaporize the kerosene that's inside of it, and then you can light it. It takes a few moments. This is why you have a pricker. You go ahead and take a little pricker. You're going to stick it in a little hole. You do this every single time. And your 3 pot stand legs go in like so. Again, you can set your pot on top of it just like so. I went ahead and got this little 6-inch plate for the 100. They make an 8-inch, but I wanted to make sure that it would fit inside my box, so I went with the 6-inch. And as you can see, there's a little bit that's hanging over, but that's no big deal because this is really what's supporting your pot, your skillet, or whatever else it is. Now you're ready to take it outside and do your first test. One thing that you might come across that I didn't mention talking about the fuel cap. I replaced this with a new rubber gasket. To get it out, the original, because it was so rock hard, it took a little while. So I took a very, very narrow and thin screwdriver and just kind of chipped away at it. After that, then I took the pair of needle nose pliers and I just started picking out the pieces from that, tapping it on my workbench every once in a while, trying to shake it off, and that got it out fairly quickly. It took me about 5 minutes to do that. It was very, very hard rubber. Now again, going back to the rule, don't make a problem bigger than what it already is. Now my burner here is stuck to the chapstick, the little tube. I want to get rid of that because it's a pain in the butt to pack in the metal container. I can do it, but it's just very difficult. It makes my life a little bit harder. So what I'm going to do to diagnose and fix this problem is I'm actually going to soak it in a little bit of citric acid and water. Not very much. It's like 1 tablespoon to a gallon of water. And I'm going to watch it throughout the day, and that will hopefully break up all the carbon. I already tried to use a torch to burn up the carbon and try to loosen it that way, and that wasn't working. In my previous experience working with stoves and with lanterns, the citric acid bath tends to work pretty well. And if nothing else, it just cleans out the brass and the inner workings, and it's not that big of a deal. My friend, I want to invite you to be part of a community. I remember before starting this community that it was pretty hard finding people who were like me, like to have conversations about historical antiques with camp crafting, talking about skills, old sources, and things like that. And I found the group of people on the Traditional Camp Crafting Guild, and I want to invite you to come on there as well. It's a great group of people that enjoy this kind of stuff, enjoy camping and hiking, bushcrafting or woodcraft, and all those other outdoor adventure skills. And what's really nice about it is eventually networking. What's really nice about it is the networking aspect of it. People are already talking about getting together and going on excursions, even if it's just a day excursion. So if you're like me and you like to go camping, but you want that more of the community experience, then I strongly suggest that you check it out. You can check it out for 5 free days. Doesn't even require a credit card unless you decide to continue, but you can poke around, check out all the different features. We've got roundtable discussions by experts on there that are exclusive to the guild members. And we have other special events that is just posted on there for the guild members. So I really encourage you to check it out. And come on and have some discussions with us, grab a cup of coffee, sit around our campfire, and welcome to the club. Now, my friend, if you are interested in seeing how to light this thing, then check this out here. I think you'll really like it. It'll be really useful. If nothing else, you get to be as excited as I am about lighting this up and seeing it roar. And we'll cook some coffee on it. If you are interested in my other 19th century backpacking stove that certainly cooks a lot slower than this one, then check it out here. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Give a kiss and hug to your loved ones, and I'll see you next time, hopefully on the Guild. Take care.